Update. Am I the a-hole for leaving my boyfriend when his ex died, leaving him to take care of his kids full-time? Original post. I, female 26, have been with my boyfriend, male 30, for 2 years now. He has 2 kids, male 6 and female 4, with his ex-girlfriend. She moved to another state with the kids to be near her family when they broke up 3 years ago. He got them on vacations only. I knew all this when I started dating him. I had no issues with this, but told him up front I can't be a parent. I was parentified by my mom and raised my 5 younger siblings. The oldest of them is 6 years younger than me, and I had to change his diapers and feed him formula. I went low contact with my family when I left home at 18. I can't imagine doing that again. He was also snipped after last kid and didn't want more kids. He was fine with me not wanting to be a parent and just be a bonus adult. We were taking it slow, and I didn't even meet his kids until a few months back. We took a trip together and got along great. Things changed 2 months ago when his ex died. Kids were really crushed as they moved into his house. We were not living together, but he asked if I could move in to help him out, just for a while. I couldn't refuse and stayed, but I started hating it again. I hated how clingy the kids became and how much responsibility I had. I did my best, but my mental health started getting worse every day. I didn't even get help from my boyfriend because he was struggling too. Last week was especially bad since younger kid had called and wanted me to nurse her back to health exactly as her mom would have. The soup wasn't the same, the song and story wasn't told the same way. I didn't hug her the way her mom did, etc. were some of the long list of complaints. I know she's grieving, but I was already working from home and stressed too. When I told my boyfriend he should take over, he said they need me more since I'm a mom. It triggered me. I didn't want to be held to a mom's responsibilities again, so I told him I can't do this. But he said I needed to stop acting like a child and step up. I understood if I stayed, my whole life would be like this. Never measuring up, never being enough. And all the responsibilities of a mom. I left yesterday and moved in with a friend. And my now ex-boyfriend is blasting my phone calling me an a-hole. Am I? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Why is he not home with his sick child? Listen, he wants you to move in so you can take over all of the parenting decisions and responsibilities. And he can continue on about his life. He even called you mom. After hearing about her childhood, he still had the nerve to do this? He needs to step up and be there for his children. And you did the right thing. He is not home with his sick child because he was already a deadbeat father before. He was like the fun uncle who took them for holidays, not a parent. Not the a-hole. As heartbreaking as this all is, this isn't what you signed up for. And you were upfront with him from the beginning about not wanting to be a parent. Had you stayed, your mental health would have continued to decline. And sooner or later, the kids would have picked up on the resentment you would undoubtedly feel. Kids don't deserve that, and neither do you. I actually think it will be better for the kids if she isn't there. He is going to have to figure this out on his own. It's going to be tough as heck, but they will all be better off for it. When I told my boyfriend he should take over, he said they need me more since I'm a mom. Not the a-hole and good for you on moving out. You shouldn't have to be unwillingly parentified a second time. It does look like he planned on making you the main parent, instead of himself. It's literally what turned me from no a-holes here to not the a-hole. He just declared her a mom by default of dating him. Didn't even bother to ask. I can't imagine being as shameless as this dude. She is on the money when she said, I understood if I stayed my whole life would be like this. Now for the update. Last few days were chaotic and full of confusion to say the least. I didn't answer a lot of questions, and I'm sorry to all of you for that. I was not in the right state of mind and was overwhelmed by all the replies. As is human nature, all the reasons I was an a-hole and cold-hearted witch messed with my mind a lot. To answer a few questions, 1. I didn't leave without goodbye. I had told the kids goodbye. I didn't want to cause too much strain and said I was leaving for a while for work. I did just tell my ex I was leaving. I couldn't take another round of stop acting like a child and grow up. 2. I don't normally work from home. He asked me to stay home with his daughter, stating he doesn't know how to take care of a sick kid. She really was sick at first, and I went along with it. But he refused to even help in the evenings. 3. Most of your assumptions about him was true. In a sense, I almost always ended up looking after the kids alone. He rarely did his part. It was either he was exhausted, he couldn't face them, he didn't know how to deal with their grief, or I did it better. It was not what we agreed upon when I moved in to help. I was supposed to help him, show him the ropes, but I ended up feeling like a single mom. For, as parent, he got custody. His ex's parents said that was for the best since they were already retired. They did not want to raise the kids. Anyway, I was able to move back into my earlier apartment. Thankfully, the landlord hadn't rented it to anyone else. I did have a lease, but I did not want to keep paying rent and had come to agreement with landlord to sublet the apartment for month to month till I am back. Being back in my space, I feel much more calmer. I also met with my ex. After the initial blasting, he called me yesterday asking if we could meet. I wanted to get more clarity too, and agreed. He came over, finally got a babysitter, and we had a good talk. He apologized for everything he said and demanded I do too. He said it was a big unexpected change for him too. He was scared and didn't know how to raise them being a vacation dad. Having children home every day and thinking this was how it's gonna be for the rest of his life, his words, had him terrified. I said he understood, but I cannot be a mom to those kids. I cannot take up his responsibilities. I want to help, but not in that capacity. I needed boundaries. He said he expected as much. He agrees he should have never asked so much of me. He asked if I could help him still, that the kids missed me and asked when I will be back. He needed me. I refused. I told him I will help him. I will come around sometimes when I can, as a friend of Dad's would, but I won't move back in. I won't be a stepmom. He asked if I was breaking up with him. The truth is, I don't know. I do love him, but it won't work out in the long term, and everything he did and said is still raw on my mind. I said as much to him. I can't be in a committed relationship with him. I won't go anywhere, and will help and support as much as I can, but as a friend, I guess we are ending that relationship. I met kids this morning. I went over there with some pancakes. They asked when I was coming back to live with them. I told them I have my own home to take care of, but I will visit them when I can. While surprised, they seemed to be accepting the situation. They had questions, of course, but accepted I will just be Daddy's friend. His daughter asked if I could still be her best friend. I agreed. I guess that won't be too hard. She gave me a hug before I took them to school and daycare. I actually feel so much better too. This was a role I can deal with. I don't know if it's the right way. I hope it works. Thank you for all your replies and guidance. I have serious problems with how he just foisted the labor on anyone but himself. But I'm glad you are working on what really are your terms. Wishing you the best for those kids. Yes, I understand that it was unexpected and scary for him too. But he should have done the majority of the parenting himself. I'd only ask for assistance. It's like he expected a woman to take care of the kids because that's normal. Not okay at all to me as a man and a father. I think OP handled it very well considering the circumstances. Him wanting an apology from OP is so crazy. That means he still doesn't really understand a problem and how wrong he was. I especially hated how he negged and guilt-tripped her into doing his parenting for him. Grow up. Stop acting like a child. When he was the one who needed to grow up and step up. What a manipulative prick. You are a very kind person. Your potential ex, on the other hand, I have very little respect for. I really can't get past the fact that he still asks for your help, even going so far as to ask when you will be back. Selfish down to his very core, unfortunately. I wish you the best of luck, and though it might be hard to say a final goodbye to all of them, I would seriously consider it. He is taking advantage of OP's kindness. This is called the incremental approach. When his first approach of all in failed, he went back to the drawing board on how to suck OP into being the single mom again. If you are not very good at holding boundaries, I would nope out. It will do less damage to you and the kids in the long run. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my wife an ultimatum? I, 35 male, have been married to my wife, 37 female, for 7 years, and we were together another 3 before that. We had a daughter, 5 female. On the outside, our marriage appears to be perfect. She and I own a nice house with a good school district, have a great kid, and both work full-time. Her job requires her to do some travel and wants her in the office 3 days a week. My job does not pay as well, but I work completely remote and spend a lot of time taking my daughter to soccer or doctor's appointments, as well as keeping up around the house. Before anyone asks, this is not a weight gain issue. I am active and fit, and my wife is the same. For the past 4 or so years, my wife has shown basically no interest in our marriage and acts more like a roommate than a partner. We have basically no romance or intimacy. When I say intimacy, I know some people will jump to sex, but to me intimacy means acting like a couple. Hand-holding, kisses, cuddling, and obviously sex. None of those are really things my wife wants to do, and makes it painfully obvious that she isn't interested. Before, she and I were very much an amazing couple. My wife also shows no interest in my life. She has forgotten important events like our anniversary and my birthday. Our last anniversary, she said she needed to cancel the dinner plans I made for the two of us because she had to work late on a Friday and travel for work the following week. I brought this up to my therapist, who suggested couples therapy and is willing to give some recommendations. I brought this up to my wife, who immediately shut it down, saying there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need therapy. I have made multiple suggestions to her for how we can possibly improve our relationship. Family vacation? Our daughter won't appreciate it. I don't see what a 5-year-old wouldn't want to go to the beach for a couple days, but maybe I'm wrong. A romantic getaway for just her and I? No, I'm too busy at work. Or can't we just spend time together at home? Taking our daughter on a bike ride and going out to lunch on a weekend? I want to just relax. So I gave up trying to initiate anything with her and recently began looking for an out. I watched my parents in a failing marriage for a decade and don't want to put my child through that. I talked to a lawyer and got papers ready and can buy a condo in town to keep our daughter in the same school district with her friends, since I can't afford our house by myself. I recently confronted my wife when our daughter was at a playdate. I told her that I am seriously considering leaving her since I feel as though I don't matter to her and our relationship is never a priority to her. I told her that I have an exit plan, and if she doesn't make changes by the new year, I am going to file for divorce and full custody. She and I got into a big fight, where she basically told me I was manipulative and an a-hole for blindsiding her like that. I told her that none of this would be an issue if she cared about us, or at least pretended to. I told her I don't want our daughter to see how unhealthy our relationship is. All of this happened yesterday. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for what I said to my wife and our argument after? Edit. I've brought up my concerns about our marriage to her multiple times. Things usually improve for a short while, but are quickly back to the status quo in a week or two. Now for the comments. Partner 1. Screaming into the void about relationship problems for years. Needs not being met, etc. Partner 2. I feel so blindsided by this. Pikachu face. Maybe if partner 2 actually cared or listened, they would not have feel blindsided. They chose to ignore. Exactly. And when a relationship gets to this point, I'm convinced there's a very, very, very slim chance of saving it. Someone ignoring their partner's feelings and dismissing all their concerns for years isn't likely to make any long-lasting changes. Yeah, she's checked out by the sounds of it. I even wonder if she has a side guy to fulfill her urges, since she wants nothing to do with Opie. That's an awful situation he's in. Hope he finds some happiness in life. Really sounds like she's been cheating for years. I'm sorry to say this, but your wife doesn't care. The first thing she said to you once you mentioned about ending it, she said, I was manipulative and an a-hole for blindsiding her like that. First off, you didn't blindside her. You mentioned it to her and she didn't want to listen. Secondly, you also asked about couples therapy and she dismissed you. Every time you try something, she doesn't want to know. She doesn't seem to care about you or your daughter. She doesn't care about your anniversary or your birthdays. She does not seem to care at all. You are the one that is being there for your daughter and spending quality time. Are you sure she's not having an affair? Personally, I wouldn't wait until the end of the year. I'd go ASAP. I really hope she's not having an affair. I really don't want to think about the person I want to spend my life with doing something like that. But after reading a lot of the replies and some helpful links someone posted that outline an abusive relationship, I will be speaking to the lawyer first thing tomorrow. I think it's time I did something for myself and my daughter. Last story. Would I be the a-hole for contesting a divorce and putting my soon-to-be ex-wife through the ringer? My wife and I are getting divorced. She filed for divorce due to a disagreement when it came to paying for the care of my parents. Not here for legal advice or anything of that nature. Here for strictly a moral judgment. My wife and I were married for 14 years. During that time, my wife did not need to work. My income was more than enough to sustain us and anything we wanted. Fast forward to COVID. My father passed away and my mother suffered from a stroke soon after. I made a choice to care for my mother because I have the income to do so. My wife did not agree, but I stood my ground and here we are now. According to my attorney, judges in our state tend to exercise their discretionary authority fairly liberally, and off the record and his opinion, stated in the aspect of fairness for my wife, I should not contest the divorce and simply do it amicably, so end it quickly and fairly. When I ask what exactly are the risks if I contest it, In his opinion, given our county judges and a reason for divorce, my wife will be hard-pressed to garner much of any goodwill, so she most likely will not be granted a court order that will force me to cover her legal fees if I contest the divorce, even considering the wage gap. In short, here is where I am. Would I be the a-hole for contesting a divorce, forcibly drawing out a divorce to make my wife rack legal fees that she would have to use her end of the settlement money to cover? More info needed. When you say you made a choice to care for your mother, did you discuss it with your wife? And what did this care entail? Did your mother move in with you or did you put her in care? She's in care, and I told my wife prior I would be caring for my parents if they need help. I am an only child and a later-in-life baby. She was on board then, but as the time went on, according to her, people change. Given that you discussed it earlier, she's being a very unsupportive partner then. However, why would you want to prolong this? The longer it drags, the more of a mental and emotional drain it would be for you. I would cut my losses. To be honest, I really do not know what I feel it would accomplish. As mentioned in another post, I do not think it would bring me joy. Even the idea of it does not make me happy. This would 100% be a pure spite reaction, nothing more, nothing less. If you draw it out, then you will end up paying more in legal fees for your own side. Your lawyer can advise that it is unlikely that you will have to cover her side, but they can't guarantee it. So if you rack up the fees and then it is decided that you will have to pay her fees too, you will feel like an idiot. I already feel like an idiot supporting her for 14 years and not getting a prenup because it seemed we shared the same values and were in agreement. You'll feel like an even bigger idiot when you end up having to pay a bunch of lawyer fees for you and possibly her that were not needed. Sounds like you're pissed for having to pay all these years, but your solution is to make sure you pay even more? Any way you slice it, the lawyers are not going to be free.